Hello guys, welcome back to iPhone and iPad app development tutorials. In the last lesson we learned how to add interactivity slightly. What we did is we learned text fields and we learned the slider. Today what we're going to do is we will basically learn about adding a switch onto our application. Now switch is one of the most commonly used objects in apps. Like in any household, you have a switch that turns on and off, and then the colors that we mostly relate to switches are, if it is on it is green, if it is off it is red. So what we would do is we would make an app where we would put a switch, and if the switch is turned on we would show the color as green, and if it is turned off we would show the color as red. To do this, what we would do is open our existing app that we were building. So let's go back to Xcode, go to YT app. We would open the existing app. Now what we need to do is, first of all, we would need to go to the view controller. Now if you remember, this is how our app looked last. Now what we need to do is we need to open the tools library, and from the library, first thing that we would do is put a label. Now for some of you might be thinking, why do we need a label? This is where we show the color. We would basically be showing the color as red or green here. So I'd remove the text, and then what I would do is I would need a switch, so I would bring the switch over here. Alright, I'm not sure if that is in line with the rest of it, but anyways, this is for experiment. Now we don't need the library anymore, so it's best to close it. Okay, so we put two more objects on our view window. So obviously we need to tell Mr. IB outlet that we've got two new members in our family. So we tell Mr. IB outlet that we've got a UI switch, and we want to call it, say, Ruby switch colon. And we will also tell Mr. IB outlet that we have another member called UI label, and we want to call him, say, switch switch label, and semicolon. Now obviously we need one more action here, and that is when the switch is turned on and off. So what we would do is we would tell IB action, and we would tell when switch is changed, for example. Yeah, and then like always, this is where we just define the action, but the actual action will take place in the .m file. So we copy this, Command C, go to the M file, go to the bottom below the bracket, Command V, open the curly bracket. Now what we want here is a logical action. So if it is on, it should be green. If it is off, it should be red. So we write if. The moment you write if, you would see that it comes up with the syntax. So obviously we would start the bracket and write Ruby switch dot on. What this means is, if Ruby switch is on, what is it that we want the switch to do? Obviously we will start another curly bracket now, because it's a condition, it's a logical condition. So we would write switch label, switch label dot background color. Okay, now remember, you must use the capital C when writing background color, because otherwise it may give errors. Sometimes it acts funny, though it should ideally accept it. So what we would do is let's go ahead and do a small c, and we will, and most likely, I'm sure I would get an error, but we would see if we get an error. Okay, so what we have basically done here is we've told the action that if Ruby switch is on, then the switch label background color should be equal to, and then we open UI color. Alright, the moment you write UICO, you would see that the syntax comes up. Should be GRE green color. We close the bracket, put a semicolon, and also close the curly bracket. Now if you see, for every curly bracket that you open, you have to have a closing curly bracket. Now the first condition is done. Now what we need is say if it is not on. So what should happen when it's not on? So we would write else and the condition, else and the condition. Since we are starting a condition, we would write the curly bracket. Now again, what we would write here is switch label, which is the label which would show the colors, dot background color. Now remember, the spelling of the spelling of color is color and not colour. Again, like I said, sometimes it's funny. We would try with both, but I know for sure that, you know, colour may give error. And we would say UI color should be red color, and then we close the colons, and we also need to close the curly bracket. Now the moment you close a curly bracket, it would show you which one it is closed. So for the ones who are smart, we know that there's one more which is open, and which was this one, so we needed to close that as well. What we would do now is save it. We would save this file, Command S. We would also save the header file, Command S. And now what we would need to do is, for once, we would minimize this. Obviously you remember the drill. We need to tell Mr. Inspector about the new people that we have in the family. So we go to Tools, Inspector, and then we click on File Owner. You would see that Ruby Switch has come up there and Switch Label has come up there. So we need to tell Mr. Inspector that this is the Ruby Switch, and we also need to tell the Mr. Inspector that this is the switch label. Now obviously there's one more action that we have defined, which is when switch is changed. So who's going to do that work? Obviously the switch, and we select value changed. Now what we would do is save this. Again, with the switch, if you see, the default is on. You can always change the default to off. So let's change the default to off and leave it like this. Save it, close the inspector, close the view window, close this one as well, go to Xcode and say build and run. Ooh, it says 2 errors here, failed. Now we would click on that, and as I thought, it is the capital C. So what we would do is we would change this to a capital C and say save, Command S, and then build and run again. It works. It's funny sometimes, you know, they made it more like the US, but you know, the spellings, etc., and capitalization. But anyways, it doesn't matter as long as you know the syntax. It should work. So what we're going to do is test it now, whether it works or not. We press on, it is green. We press off, it is red. Hooray! That's what we wanted to do, isn't it? In the next lesson, guys, I would teach you something more exciting. Why I wanted to teach you this is so that you know how to add interactivity between 2 objects within the app. I know this is not a great thing to know, but again, if you're working on any app that needs an on and off button, you can't live without knowing this. I would suggest that you practice this on your machine, and if possible, load a video and let me see how you do it. Yeah, we will meet each other in the next lesson. If you like my videos, please subscribe, and if you have any questions or any queries, or if you need any codes from me, please just write a comment and I would be more than happy to provide you. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, if you like the videos, then please click the like button as well. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'll see you again in the next lesson. Cheers.